Hey everybody, welcome back to Parsnips and Parsimony. So today's video is going to just be a gardening Q&A, and I asked you guys what you had questions about with the garden, and you guys had a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to try to shoot for this to be about a 10-minute video. We'll get through as many questions as we can, and then if you guys have more questions, we can do a second Q&A. Julie wrote, what do you amend your soil with? The main thing is compost. So the compost is, food scraps, lawn scraps. We do now have the chicken manure that we use, the hay that the chickens have inside their coop. And then usually once a year we actually scoop out the whole outside coop. That it's all dirt, but it builds up. And so we scoop that out, throw it all in the compost. And then this year we added cow manure. Actually, it was last fall, we added cow manure into the compost. So that is primarily what we add to our soil every single year. This year, we did add the cow manure, which I think made a huge difference in our garden. Julie also asked, do I plant a fall garden? Yes and no. In our zone, which is a zone 5, a fall garden starts the middle of August. So it's not really fall. Do we harvest through fall? Yes, absolutely. But do we plant in the fall? Not really, because it's too late. We don't have enough of a growing season after fall technically hits here for us to plant anything and have anything grow. That being said, today being October 1st, I am planning on planting spinach. Now this spinach will not be ready to harvest this year, but it will be one of the first things I will harvest in the spring. So that's something I will plant in the fall, but I won't get any produce until springtime on that one. And how do I protect my plants from the frost? If you watched our daily vlog from a couple days ago, you know that we went and bought a gigantic tarp from the store. And that's how we protect most of our gardens from the frost. If it gets down below 28, 29, there's no saving it at that point. It's just the tarps will not cut it. Thankfully, here it is October 1st. Our area is considered a non-growing time anymore because they've had almost heavy frost everywhere. But because of our location, we have not had heavy frost and our garden is still growing. Albeit slowly, it is still growing. Sarah asked, tell me about your watering system. Watering can and a hose with a sprayer on it. I don't have any specific watering system that I use other than I just water the plants as needed, trying to remember not to water late at night or when it's dusk, particularly in the middle of summer, because water that sits on the plants can easily cause diseases and things like that, which we don't want. Other than that, I usually water early evening. And that's for us, that's like 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. So most of the hot sun has gone away and the water that I put in can actually soak into the ground. We have city water, so we do have to pay for our water, but we don't have to worry about running out a well. So it probably depends on your circumstances and what availability you have to water. We do keep, when you've seen it in my videos, some large pails around. When it's going to rain, we'll actually leave those out, and then I use that for watering in the next day or two. Obviously, we don't want to leave any stagnant water around for mosquitoes or bugs or anything like that, but putting out a couple pails really does help. Just put some water on the plants when it's really hot in the summer. They say the average plant should have an inch a week for growing. I don't measure it. If it looks dry, if I know it's been really hot, I water it. And in the cooler temperatures, you don't need to water nearly as frequently. So again, it's probably not overly helpful. Don't have a rhyme or reason. If the plants look dry, water them. And on really, really hot days, I will often be watering at least once a day. And it takes me 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Again, it depends on how much of a deep soaking I want to do. It's better for the plants to water every couple days and give them a really deep soaking so the roots go down instead of staying on the surface, but you don't always have time for that. And I do use periodically, it didn't work so well this year because of the way the garden was formatted, I do use a sprinkler when I can, and that also saves me time. But my big thing with the sprinkler is I often forget that I have it going, and it's been known to run for a good hour or so before I remember that I turned it on. Oops. Elena asked, how many pounds of produce did we get this year? Well, I know we're over 500. I don't know how much over. Art's the mathematician on that, and we still haven't harvested everything out of our garden. I don't expect we'll finish harvesting everything out until probably the end of November, beginning of December, when we finally get a hard frost that goes into the ground. And then at that point, I will have to harvest all of the parsnips and all of those type of root vegetables. But I'm thinking, with what's out there left, I'm thinking it's going to be 650 to 700 pounds. That's my gut feeling. I'd love to get to 750. I mean, I surpassed my 500. I'm thrilled with that. Not sure we'll make 750. Love to, but I'll be happy with 600 or 650. Kimberly asked, do we have any berries? We have some wild raspberries and blackberries that periodically sprout around our yard at different times. We have not planted any. We've talked about putting in a berry patch, but the question is, where would we put it in our yard, and would it be really effective? Because berries need sun, and where the sun is in our yard, the kids play. So I'm not sure that we could ever put berries in while the kids are here. But to answer your question, no, we really don't have any official berries. Periodically, we'll get a couple that have sprouted up from the neighbors. The birds have dropped them, and we have some berries, but not usually. Petra asks, who enjoys helping in the garden, and what is my favorite vegetable to grow? All the kids help harvest. I'm not sure as many of them enjoy the weeding part, and a lot of times I don't have them helping me weed, just because in the beginning the plants are so tiny and frail. One oops and you lose your plants. So often in the spring I don't have them helping me with that, and once they get bigger, Lily would probably be my biggest person who helped me with the garden this year, because she would go around after I made the path and she'd be like, is this a weed, mommy? Is this a weed? And she'd go through and pick the weeds for me and put them in a bucket. So I guess my answer to that is Lily is probably my biggest helper. Christy asks, is there ever too much production that you can't use it all, and does it go to waste? This year has been fabulous, and I think that's because Art has not been that busy at his shop, so he's been able to help me a lot more with preserving the produce. In past years we have had too much that, you know, primarily in the tomatoes, they've gone to waste. They've gone on the ground, and I'm going to say, when I say waste, it's probably 10 pounds, maybe 20 pounds, if that. This year, maybe 2 pounds altogether of everything, and that might have been a yellow squash and maybe 2 tomatoes. Everything has been really good this year. We try to be really, really good about not wasting anything, because that's one of my big bugaboos, is I do not like to waste food. So if we've ever had too much, I often share with my parents, my neighbors, and then friends from church. People are always happy to know a gardener, because you can always get particularly their excess zucchinis and yellow squash. Phyllis asks, do you plan on freezing or canning the fruit for winter? We didn't get a lot of fruit this year, and the most of the fruit that we got were the peaches, and the peaches are mostly dried. We knew we were going to be tight on freezer space, so we opted to drying them because it takes up less room, and we can put it in oatmeal and things like that. So I didn't can, I'm trying to think, what did I can? I did can some rhubarb jelly. I've got to see what I have left in grapes. That will either be grape jelly or grape pie. And then the apples, I'll make applesauce. That'll probably be the next one that I have the most fruit on. I will be canning that. I don't freeze apples. I don't have enough room in my freezer right now. So I will be canning applesauce. But other than that, we don't have a lot of excess fruit to can. Paige asks, is there a vegetable that you would love to try but haven't yet? I think something that I keep seeing in recipes are green chilies, and I have more and more recipes that call for green chilies, and I haven't grown them, and I would like to add that to my list. I haven't grown habanero peppers before. However, one of my viewers did send me a seed packet for habanero peppers, so I may be trying those next year. But I think the green chilies could be really useful too. I have to see where, I don't know if I've ever seen them in seed catalogs. It's one of those things that when you're used to growing the same things, sometimes it's hard to go outside your comfort zone, but I think green chilies would be the one thing I would like to try next year. What are the kids' favorite veggies? Tomatoes, green beans, they love corn, they love pickles and cucumbers. They love the fresh carrots out of the garden. I think that's probably their favorites. They'll eat the yellow squash, they'll eat the zucchini. They love zucchini bread. I wouldn't say it's their favorite. They'll eat it, but it's not their favorite. But they really do enjoy the tomatoes and things like that. Tammy wanted to know, how did the parsnips do in the garden? Well, Tammy, I haven't harvested them yet. They are still growing, and the leaves are probably 2-3 feet tall, so I have no idea. Having no experience with parsnips before, I have no idea what the root is going to look like. They look from the tops like they're going to be fabulous. I don't know. I guess you'll just have to keep watching until we harvest those, which will be in another month or two. So there's a giant bug climbing up the screen. I'm glad you guys can't see it. It is bugs. I may be a gardener, but I don't care for the bugs. The last question, Anita asked, what is one tip or trick that you wish you had known when you first started gardening? I think, there's so many. Soil. I think the soil, the quality of your soil, and planting in close to full sun is probably two of the most important things you can do when you're gardening. If your soil is bad, no matter what you plant, it's probably not going to grow. If you don't have enough sun, your plants won't produce. And if I had to go back and tell myself anything, that's what I would say. Get to know a local farmer. Amend the soil with really good compost, organic manure, and things like that to add to the soil. And make sure you plant in a lot of sun. Here in our yard, we have, it's borderline too much shade. It really is. And sometimes towards the end of the season, it's hard to grow anything because there's too much shade. So my takeaway would be, if you're looking to plant a garden, make sure it gets close to full sun. If you don't know what full sun is, Google it. They have criteria. I want to say it's more than 6 hours, but don't quote me on that. More than 6 hours of full sun. And then get a little pH tester, soil tester. You can get kits, or you can get like a thermometer, meat thermometer, really easy to use, and test your soil, and then amend. Some plants don't like a lot of nutrients, peppers being one of them. And there's that bug. It's just crawling right over the screen. There it goes. And he's off. Goodbye. Peppers are one of them, and then potatoes are another one that don't like to be heavily fertilized. So read good quality, practical gardening books. Again, my favorite one is Dick Raymond's The Joy of Gardening. I think that is one of the best books that I have ever found, that it's in layman's terms. Anyone and everyone can understand it, and you won't, it will help you, guide you through the process. So if you don't know how to do peppers, he's going to tell you how to do peppers. He's going to tell you about the collars on the bugs. He's going to tell you how to put the collars on your pepper plants, and he's going to tell you about putting matches in the soil, and he's going to lay it out for you step by step all the way throughout the entire season. And to me, his book is like a gardener coming beside me and saying, okay, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. And if you follow these steps, you should have amazing success. So that would be my recommendation for all of you, whether you're new to gardening or if you're more of an experienced gardener, or you want to learn more tricks and trades. You cannot go wrong with that book. All right, that's the end of the questions. If you guys have any more questions you'd like to answer, feel free to jump over to the community page on this video and let me know what other questions you have about gardening. We are thrilled with an amazing year this year, and so thankful for the produce that has managed to come out of the garden this year. So hope you guys are doing well. Hey everybody, welcome back to Parsnips and Parsnips.